Hello. Good to see everyone. Please notice with me Daniel chapter 5. Daniel chapter 5. And we're going to look at verse 31. And Darius the Mede took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. How much is that? 62. That's right. Now, here's the thing you need to understand when you read if you read all these books on Daniel. This is one person, one king. We do not find his name in secular writings. And so the liberals say he never existed. They don't believe the Bible's inspired. And one of the main reasons is the book of Daniel, because it prophesies things way into the future. Well, that's a miracle. They don't believe in miracles. So Daniel couldn't have written this. He couldn't have known these things. How could he know what's going to happen hundreds of years later? Well, of course, we believe God inspired him. Now, you remember the guy in chapter 4? Or wait a minute, is it chapter 5? 5:1. Belshazzar. This is another one. His name was not found in secular writings until approximately 100 years ago. So they said up to that time, he didn't exist. But now we have inscriptions with not only chapter 5, verse 1, not only his name on it, but it says the king. Some of them said he didn't even exist. Some of them said he existed, but he was never king because we have no record of it. Well, about 100 years they found records. So just like Belshazzar, we have to be patient. Of course, I hope we don't have to wait 100 years, but most of you wouldn't make it that far. I probably will, but a lot of 100 years, I hope we don't have to wait that long. But they could find it any day. They're digging up archaeological finds every day in the Mediterranean world. So they say here in chapter 6, verse 1, well, this guy never existed. Chapter 5, verse 31, says he was a Mede and that he took the kingdom. What kingdom are we talking about? Starts with a B. Babylon. Now he's ruling over Babylon. And notice chapter 6, verse 1. it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. Now, what they would do is appoint these little guys that would be over a certain district of land, and they were responsible to keep the peace, to be sure the taxes comes in. That's number one. To be sure the money comes in, and be sure that things stay in an orderly condition. The way our country was 4 years ago, they'd have come over here and just stomped on us and say, we don't need that. They hated confusion in their government. And so they set up all these guys to keep things in order for the king. And notice what it said in verse 2. And over these presidents, of whom Daniel was first. Where was Daniel from? Starts with a J. Jerusalem. Where are these people from? Babylon, Media and Persia. This guy is a foreigner. They don't like it that a foreigner is over them. You know how people are. Things hadn't changed very much. Well, things hadn't changed. They don't like that. So in verse 2, the princes gave accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. So they give an account to the king what's going on in his district, so there's no damage to the kingdom. Verse 3, that this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, and because of an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Now, this guy's a heathen. He doesn't believe in God. But you don't have to believe in God to recognize that a person has excellent qualities. Isn't that what we have told people before we let them just rush over here in the millions? We told them, if you want to come to America and work hard and obey our laws, you can make a great life for yourself. But these guys don't like it that a foreigner is over them. Are they jealous? Yes. They probably thought, well, I should have been the first. And you put this foreigner over me? I should have been first. So what happens? First, Daniel is given this place of authority in 5:1 through 6:3. Then, verse 4 and 5, this brought jealousy among all these little petty, ungodly little mini rulers. They're jealous. Look at verse number 4 and 5 of chapter 6. Then the president's apprentice sought to find occasion. Donald Trump has more indictments against him than Al Capone. And Al Capone would shoot your head off in a wink. They want to find, they don't have anything, they want to find something. Now, when you have this in politics, which we've seen it in the last 4 years, it just corrupts everything. When you just want to find anything you can. Now they say Donald Trump had some papers he shouldn't have had at Mar-a-Lago. I don't know if he did or not. But then it turns out that Joe Biden had been keeping classified documents since he was a senator, which is a lot bigger crime. What do they do to Trump? The FBI goes through there and goes through all Melania's drawers. Goes into their bedroom, starts pulling out the drawers, looking all through them. The FBI with guns drawn. What'd they do to Biden? What'd they do to him? Nothing. Now people say, well, I just can't see that. I'll pray for you if you can't see that. When you get that in politics, you get corruption. And that's what these politicians want to find. They don't have a crime. They're going to find something. And I remember a novel I read in college. A guy sent out some people to find something on somebody. And they said, well, there's not anything. And he made the famous statement, there's always something. If you can't find a crime, invent one. You can get enough people, pay enough people off. So they are looking for anything they can to get Daniel in trouble, to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom. But they could find none occasion nor fault. Now, this doesn't mean he was perfect. This means as far as politically speaking in his job in the kingdom, they couldn't find anything. They could find none occasion nor fault, for as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. As far as this is concerned, they can't find anything. Then these men get together and they say, look, we got a problem on aisle 3, and here's the problem. We shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, this foreigner. We can't find anything, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. The only way we're going to get something on this guy is find something that has to do with his religion. Freedom of religion has not been around that long, and it's in danger now. I mean, if you want to know how close it is, all they have to do is somebody preaches a sermon and they don't like it and they think it's against a certain group, they just come up here and say, okay, we're taking away your tax status. We're talking about thousands of dollars they're going to make us pay every year. So they're looking for anything, and they says the only way we're going to get him is with his religion. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king and said unto him, King Darius, live forever. If there was ever a more hypocritical statement made in the Bible, I don't know where it'd be. All the kingdoms, all the presidents of the kingdom, the governors, the princes, the counselors, the captains has consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 years, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. They believed that their leaders were sons of the gods. Not God, sons of the gods. And so they say, okay, we think you ought to make this law that anybody makes any kind of petition to any god or any man except you, well, they want to build him up. He ought to be killed. He ought to be thrown into a den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree. Sign the writing that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which altereth not. The Medes and the Persians had this custom that once the king wrote down a law, you could not change it. And they're reminding him of that in verse number 8. Now, look at verse number 9. They got him. Who knows what he was doing that day? You probably don't want to know. Maybe he wasn't thinking straight. Maybe he was having a bad day. But he didn't catch this. So in verse 9, the king signed the writing and the decree. He signed it. Now it can't ever be changed. Anybody that prays to a god or makes a request of any man besides him for 30 days, capital punishment. Signed, sealed, delivered, that's it. So they get him in verse 9. So what you have, they set the trap in verse 10 through 18. Look at verse 10. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being opened in his chamber toward Jerusalem, that's where he wanted to go back to, that's where he was from, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before God as he's always done. This law of a heathen is not going to change his religion. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying. Have you ever seen a bunch of vultures go down on a cow that's not quite dead? That's what these guys are like. They're like a bunch of vultures just circling, wanting to get Daniel. And they're just looking for anything they can get on him so he'll be murdered. These are murderers. These are liars. Verse 12. Then they go to the king. You might have imagined. They spake before the king concerning the king's decree that he had signed. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man shall ask petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be put into the lion's den? Now notice it says, any man. That's a lie right there. They're liars. You remember what John Wayne said when this guy came from prison, wanted him to hire him on a cattle drive? And he said, well, where have you worked before, son? He told him all these places. And John Wayne knew all these places, and they were all closed down. And he told him. And he said, oh, you're going to hold it against me that I've been in prison. He said, no, I don't hold it against any man that's been in prison. But I won't hire a liar. These are liars. The king answered and said, now what's he going to say? The thing is true. I did that. According to the law of the Medes and the Persians, he said, which does not alter. Then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, that foreigner over there that you exalted, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree thou hast signed, but he makes his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with Daniel. Is that what it says? With himself. Why was he displeased with himself? He knew he'd been conned. He now realizes they've got him. And there's nothing he can do. A king's power just goes so far. He set his heart on Daniel to deliver him, and he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. I mean, there's nothing you can do. It's done. You signed it. You said you signed it. You said it can't be changed. So he's sitting there thinking, what can be done? Well, I mean, I could have told him right then, nothing. You really messed this one up. You let those guys get to you, and now you've got to put a good, honest man, the noblest man in Babylon, you got to put him to death. Now that's what these murderers here are like. They're going to take the best man in Babylon and have him killed. Then the men assembled unto the king and said unto the king, Know, king, that the law of the Medes and Persians, that no decree nor statute which a king established may be charged. He should have executed them right then. I mean, he's already said that to them. Then the king commanded, they set the trap, 10 to 11. They set the trap. And what are they going to do? The king commanded, they brought Daniel, they cast him into the den of lions. That's what they often did with vicious criminals. Instead of having our senators go over there and get them back home, they put them to death. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel, and they cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy God whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. Maybe he had heard about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Maybe he had heard about that. I'm sure people talked about it all the time. And he's thought about it all night. He didn't sleep all night. He can't stand this. He says, well, maybe your God will do something. Did he believe that? Verse 17. A stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet. You break that signet, that means death. Remember they did that when Jesus died and was put in the tomb? The king's signet was put on there, sealed it with his own signet, with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. So nobody can come in there and get him out. Verse 18, then the king went to his palace. Don't you know that palace was a place of peace and comfort? He could have anything he wanted. So he goes to his palace. Let me tell you something. I don't care how nice a place is. Anywhere in the world, you still got to live with yourself. You still got to live with, I did that. I let those murderous liars deceive me, and now my friend's going to die. He couldn't escape his conscience. So he goes to his palace, and he passed the night fasting, didn't play any music, but they brought him before him, and his sleep went before him. Means he didn't sleep any, because he's worried about Daniel. Then the king arose very early in the morning. You get the idea? He kind of liked Daniel. Then the king arose very early in the morning, went and hurried up to the den of lions. When he came to the den, he cried with a crying voice unto Daniel, and the king spoke to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God, whom thou servest, continually able to deliver thee from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, notice his respect for authority. You see this all through the book. O king, live forever. In those days, that was a term of respect that you would say to the ruler. My God sent his angel, and he shut the lion's mouth, and they have not hurt me, forasmuch as before him innocence was found in me, and also brought before thee, O king, I have done no hurt. Then the king was exceeding glad for him. Why would he be glad for him? He must have liked this guy. He must have liked this guy. He's not just glad, he's exceeding glad. And he commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den. No manner of hurt was found upon him. Why? We're given the reason. Why was he not hurt? Because he believed in his God. Here's the kind of man Daniel was. I am going to serve God. I don't care in this life what he puts in front of me. I'm going to stay faithful. That's what every Christian should resolve. Whatever happens to us down the way, however bad we think it is, and everybody's is more terrible than anybody else in the world, however bad it is, we decide, I'm going to stay faithful. Nobody's going to hurt my feelings enough to get me out of the church. My feelings don't mean that much to me. I don't even usually deal with them. But when I do, they're not above God. Daniel decided, I'm going to do whatever it takes. So he was delivered because he believed in God. Verse 23. Verse 24, the king commanded. Now, the trap backfires. Now, this seems cruel to us. He takes those men who brought that accusation against Daniel, and not only does he take those men, he takes their families. You say, well, why would he take their families? They didn't do anything. In the Medo-Persian Empire, that's the way they punish people. And you know, if you do a capital offense, you know you're going to stand there and watch your family die. And then they're going to kill you. And you say, oh, that's cruel, that's cruel. I tell you what, people might think a little more about what they do. Coming over here from some place I can't even pronounce and raping a teenage girl and getting out of jail the next day? You tell me what kind of country does that? What kind of country lets a guy come over here illegally and kill a mother and let him out of jail the next day? What kind of country does that? Even these people weren't that dumb. So they bring all the men, they throw them into the lion's den where they wanted Daniel thrown, and they throw all their families. Say, well, that's not fair. We're dealing with heathens. We're dealing with paganism. That was their law. That was their law. There's nothing you could do about it. You commit a capital offense, there goes your wife, and whatever family you got, there they go with you to the firing line. And that's what they did to these guys. They threw them into the lion's den and their families. Now, here's what the liberals say. Somebody came and gave dope to the lions. Dope's been around a long time. Narcotics. It's been around a long time. And somebody doped up the lions. So that's why they didn't hurt Daniel. They didn't because an angel came down and stopped it, the liberals say. because they don't believe in miracles. That'd be a miracle. Somebody doped up the lands. Well, I tell you how doped up they were. Before these people could even hit the bottom of the chasm, they already broke all their bones. Another argument. Somebody came in the night and fed these lions real good. See, they fed them real good. So that when Daniel was put in there, they weren't hungry. Okay, explain to me then why they killed all of these people and their families before they even hit the bottom of the pit. Sounds like to me those lions were pretty stinking hungry. And I'm going to tell you another thing. You don't tell a lion what to do. You ever tried to tell a lion what to do? I remember when I was about 5 years old, they took me to the zoo, and there was a great big lion up there. And I went right up to his face and I says, "You go back over there to your den." Man, he growled so loud I thought it was going to break my eardrums. My dad, now you've learned you don't boss lions around. These animals are animals, and they killed the people that wanted to kill Daniel. So what do we say about these people? We see the shrewdness and the intelligence of ungodly people. I used to go to debates all the time, and man, I heard some smart guys that were so far from the truth you wouldn't believe it. But they were smart. And they could make up some things that sounded pretty good. I remember one time the brother next to me says, hey, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I said, just listen to the rest of it. The ungodly can be so deceitful. And it shows you what jealousy can do. The Bible says it's rottenness to your bones. Jealousy eats you up. Jealousy is like burning down your house to kill a rat. Jealousy is dangerous. You see it right here. It resulted in some men wanting to murder the best man in Babylon. Now, how dumb is that? The best man in that whole country, they wanted dead. Why? Why did they want him dead? Jealous. I knew a guy that had a talent. Anything he touched turned to gold. Man, that guy had so much money I couldn't believe it. And believe it or not, I got to be his friend. Not to get some of the money, but just I liked him. And he could do anything in business. And you know, some members of the church, I'd hear them say things like this. Wonder if he got it honest. Wonder how he got all that money. Did he inherit it? Why couldn't they say something like, I'm glad he has that talent. Look how much good he can do for the church. Look how much good he can do for the world. We get jealous over the dumbest things. A car. A stupid house. We can get jealous over the most minute things, and it just eats us alive. And it destroys a person. It can destroy you. Look what it did to these guys. Next time, start with chapter 7. Thank you.